What's up, my good peoples? Okay, allow me to do some politics today. I'm gonna get to that raw tochiRTA. That's why you're here. So, I think I talked about this yesterday in my other video where I said this really is an all-time photo. I agree. This is one of those moments that I think we will always come back and meme because it is so representative of the vast majority of chaos that you're seeing in the Western world today. A protester shouting about the pros of immigration is interrupted by an Islamic terrorist throwing a bomb jumping over him. It's classic. This is an instant classic. Now, let's get it from Walter's perspective, because Walter is the white guy here. I agree with this comment, but I do think that there's more to it. It says liberal white people will literally tell you to stop being Islamophobic while Muslims launch bombs over their heads. This is the truth. We're dealing with the dumbest people to ever exist. I don't know. I mean, they are ultimately very dumb, yes. But it's not about dumb. It's about arrogance. And let's get to it.
You don't live in New York. You're coming to New York to tell people who belongs in New York and who doesn't belong in New York. We were born and raised in New York, and we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from outside and then tell everyone else.
Classic. Now let me break this down, because people see, this is the trick with cultural Marxism. You think it's egalitarian, that these people have such empathy, they care. They do not care. They really don't. In fact, they are cruel people who mask their cruelty in so-called empathy, right? So I'll translate for you, because again, Marxists use our words but not our dictionary. So when they say things, they actually mean something else, right?
You don't live in New York.
Right. You're an outsider, right? I get to determine who the fuck is in New York or not. That's essentially what he's saying.
You're coming to New York to tell people who belongs in New York and who doesn't belong in New York.
Now, he's doing the same thing. He's literally doing the same thing, but accusing the Jake Lang, the white, so-called white supremacist, of that, which I think is interesting.
We were born and raised in New York.
It's about me, okay? I'm from New York. I own New York, okay? I get to say what goes in New York. If I don't like you, you're not part of New York. That's how he thinks.
And we want everyone here to stay in New York. You don't get to come from...
Well, everyone but you, right? You don't live in New York. Everyone but you, right? Essentially, people that I agree with, yes, they can be in New York, but people I don't agree with, they can't be in New York. That's what he's saying.
Outside, and then tell everyone else.
And then, of course, the classic moment. Now, he does double down, actually. He at least calls them terrorists. He gives this guy, Walter, which I always think is interesting. He's a comedian looking for attention. And the funny thing about life is you get the attention that you're craving, but sometimes it's not in the way that you thought you would get that attention. I'm sure he didn't predict that a bomb would be thrown over his head. Anyway, and I would say this as an aside. New York, it's getting spooky, isn't it, huh? It's only been a couple of months and you already got a terrorist attack. We tried to tell you. Oh, it's going to get spookier. You got a Muslim communist mayor. It's going to get mad fucking spooky. Think about it. If I'm a Muslim, right, and I decide that I want to do my jihad, which is an obligation in Islam. Again, am I lying or not? Go read the Quran. Go learn about Islam. If I decide I'm pious and I want to do jihad, where do you think I would do a terrorist attack? Why wouldn't I do it in New York City? The mayor is Muslim. It's easier for me to maybe I can get away with it. Even if I don't quite get away with it, it happened on a Muslim's territory, essentially soil, and therefore he might be lenient towards me. His judges or his friends, they might be lenient towards me. So maybe I might have gotten life in jail. Maybe I can claim victimhood. Oh, Jake Lang, he attacked me. And I had no choice but to throw a bomb. And therefore, please, we're peaceful. And then the Takia mayor might say, yeah, sure, you know what? Let's cut that down. It's offensive. Islamophobic, in fact, to give him a life sentence. That's Islamophobia. Let's give him 5 years. Let's give him 10 years. Or toss it out. Guys, this is, you don't think about the consequences of things, but this is basic common sense. So when you elect jihadis, Zoran bin Laden, you're going to get more of these people. And they're not old either. They're young, too. Believe me. Anyway, he's like, hey, everyone, I could admit when I was wrong. Being reckless when a bomb is thrown over my head is not a good look, and that weighs heavily on me and his family. But, and I'll spare you the details, when you do watch this, he spends so much time talking about how evil Jake Lang is and his white supremacy, blah, blah. And he just mentions the terrorists as a footnote. Well, it's not good. We don't want terrorists in New York either. Well, duh. Obviously, you don't want terrorists in New York. But what exactly motivates these terrorists, sir? Is it not Islam? It's interesting how you have no words for that. But you want to go and delve into Jake Lang's history and what motivates him and white supremacy, blah, blah. All that is, look at me, I'm a good white person. My word goes. And if you don't like me, you. And I will do my best to cancel you, get you killed, etc. Down the line. Because I don't agree with you, and therefore you must be censored. You must be taken out of the equation. Notice he doesn't care that these terrorists could have in fact injured or killed Jake Lang or anybody. That is not part of it. It doesn't even occur to him to talk about that fact, which I think is so fascinating. But again, these guys don't have the empathy. They claim to have the empathy. He's thinking about me. Shit, I guess the bomb could have gone off and I could have been hurt. He doesn't mention at all. I've watched this. I don't remember him mentioning the fact that this Muslim terrorist could have killed a whole score of people. It doesn't occur to him. Ladies and gentlemen, this is cultural Marxism, white liberal progressive shit in a nutshell. They don't give a fuck about you. I love this meme. I thought this was hilarious. Yeah, that's that coexist. Take that. Now, do you think that Walter Masterson cares about Islam? People trying to flee Islam? How repressive Islam is? For example, look at the Iranian soccer women. Shout out to, to the Persians and the Iranians in general, not the regime, of course. Literally trying to flee and claiming asylum in Australia. Do you think he cares about that? Do you think it's ever crossed his mind that the very terrorists who threw a bomb over him represent a coherent civilization ideology that wants to take over, and that maybe it's probably not a good idea to allow that to manifest in his own country? Do you think he cares? Do you think he notices that? No, he doesn't care. He doesn't even know what's going on in Iran, and he doesn't give a shit. And frankly, even if he knows, he probably agrees with the Ayatollah. Because again, I know how these liberal people think. They want power. It is all about me, control. I will say whatever to get power. I will pretend to care about you, but really at the end of the day, I'm in it for me. And if you go against me, I'm killing you. I'm taking away your job. I'm ostracizing you. I am getting rid of you. That's how they think. And we're tired of that shit. Now, allow me to enter the six for a second, because now we're going to get into Canada. I talk about American politics every once in a while, and that doesn't mean that I wouldn't talk about what's going on in Canada, because the truth is, it's bad. In fact, in some ways, it's even worse, because at least in the United States, you have a president that is attempting to clean up a lot of this cultural Marxist DEI garbage that has infiltrated so much of your institutions and rotting it from the inside out. So there is at least, and the tide is shifting. We are tired, and it's interesting. America always leads the way, which is great. That's why so many people want to destroy America, because they know that America is the vanguard of the world. You destroy America, you've won, and then you get to determine what the vanguard is, right? But as long as America is not destroyed and America is great, America will be the vanguard, right? And so noticing the fact that things are shifting, it'll shift, and it is already shifting a little bit in Canada, slowly and slowly, I think, I hope. But people are very much doubling down on the cultural Marxism here in the country, without a doubt. But before I get into that, y'all are asking if Drake's got a classic, all that shit. Ebro, do you know yourself?
Wallet.
Classic.
Wallet.
Well, okay. I don't know if I'd say this was classic, but
Shaky warrior.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's go. Shout out to
This guy
Drizzy.
Oliver 40, Miko shit, man. 15-4 York shit, you know.
Ah,
What's poppin'? Yeah,
104 York.
yeah. Running through the six with my wolf.
Ah,
Come money, you know how it goes.
look at that. Let's go. They ain't a real
live forever, man. Pray
The
the
fakes get exposed. We pray that the fakes get exposed. Speaking of the fakes, now this is what's interesting in Canada. Not a lot of people are talking about this. I know that it is getting reported in the news. It's a big deal, actually. Obviously, I'm Canadian, so I have a lot of friends, very much Trump derangement syndrome type friends, Facebook friends, some of them. They're not talking about this, of course, because why would they? They would rather focus on Trump sucks, Trump sucks, Trump sucks. But corruption that happens on home soil, nah, not worth talking about. So, for those you guys might not know, Travis Dhanraj used to be a primetime CBC host. So he was one of the most visible people. This is a journalist. He was one of the most visible journalists on the CBC. The CBC is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. You could compare the CBC to the BBC, right? The British Broadcasting Corporation. The CBC is a crown corporation, which means essentially that it's funded by the government, which is us, our taxpayer dollars. We give them like $1 billion or more a year, okay? They get billions of dollars, okay? And it's not optional, okay? Now, they are a crown corporation, which essentially means obviously they can't technically be bought. You can't, right? It's owned by the government. So it's not private enterprise on any level, but they are there to protect Canadian sovereignty and interests, right? Because ultimately their argument, like pretty much a lot of Canadian media's argument is, oh, please give us money. You gotta protect us from the big bad Americans, because if you don't give us money, like the Americans will come in and they'll take over everything. They'll destroy us. They'll buy up all our stuff, and then we won't have any say. Our identity as Canadians are gonna be washed away, right? That's always the argument. So we shell out money to these people, and what do they usually do? Like the Canadian media. Do you think they spend the money back on Canadian talent? Not really. Yeah, okay. They give peanuts. They give a cup. They give a cents here and there. They give some to their friends, of course, who will just turn out the same mediocrity over and over again, which most of the people in the country don't watch or give a fuck about, because most people are not stupid and they want to watch American entertainment because at least the quality level is noticeably higher. And that's understandable. So these media companies obviously take the money that we give them and they go and buy Canadian, or I should say American entertainment, right, which we consume, right? And so they make money essentially by not really developing a whole lot. Okay? Let's just be honest about what this is. I digress because that's a whole nother tangent. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, by nature, because of the fact that it's, again, supposed to represent the totality of Canadian life and government. It is not a private company. It's not a public company either. It's a crown corporation. So that means that by nature, because it's a government, essentially governmental media company, it is supposed to represent the views of all Canadians. But for those of us who know the CBC, we know the CBC to be the Communist Broadcasting Corporation. It really represents the views of very far left Canadians. And they have effectively pushed Canadians more and more left as time has gone on. Now, Canadians in general have always, I would argue, been more left, which is fine, right? I mean, again, it's a political ideology. I'm maybe what you would call a centrist, sort of. I mean, I thought I was part of the left until, of course, October 7th, and I realized I ain't got shit to do with this. I don't know what to say. Hamas are not terrorists? What? It didn't really happen. What? But they filmed themselves. Oh, I get it. You're carrying water for terrorists. Got it. And that's when I was like, okay, I got to make a break. I can't relate to y'all. But the point is this. You're supposed to represent the opinions or get a sense of what most or all Canadians feel, right? Because there's a balance. There's going to be some Canadians who are on the left, some who are going to be far left, which is fine. You have the right to be that. Just as there are going to be some Canadians who are on the right and on the far right. So the point is, people should ideally get equal screen time because you are a governmental agency at the end of the day. Your mandate is to represent. This is why we give you money. It's written in stone. We give you money because you claim to represent the views of all Canadians. But of course, those who control the CBC are arm in arm with the current administration, the Liberal government, who are themselves far lefties, right? So they carry water for each other. Now, this is actually a pretty big scandal because you have somebody who's a person of color who's talking about how CBC has silenced, bullied, and intimidated him for some time because he was essentially trying to get or arrange interviews with political figures in Canada who are not far left, who might not even be far right. They just are not far left. And he was disciplined and ultimately had his show taken away from him for that. Where does that sound familiar? Is that same cultural Marxist totalitarian shit where if I don't like what you do and I don't agree with you, therefore you're out the door? Very familiar, of course. Now, this is a long time coming. I have friends, acquaintances. I know people who work at the CBC. I've met people who are even more left than me. Black folk who've worked at the CBC. And they'll tell you, man, the CBC is racist as hell. It has some absolute racist things going on there, without a doubt. So I've been knowing about this, which is why, of course, when October 7th happened, they couldn't find the gumption to report the news as it's supposed to be reported. And they're biased systematically. This has been proven and has been studied. They're anti-Jew. But like I told you, those who hate Jew hate blacks. It's a basic mathematical equation. So you're telling me that the network that's supposed to represent all of us is silencing people who aren't even like this guy. I don't even think he's in the right or whatever. I think he's just trying to have a good faith conversation and do his job. And he talks about this in this clip here. If you get the chance, you can watch it. You see, basically he says that CBC, which we've known for some time, what they do is pure cultural Marxism tokenism. The idea is, yeah, we will hire people of color, but ultimately there's no diversity of thought. You all think our cultural Marxist shit. And I, as a white person, runs this whole shit. Does that sound fair to you? Right? This is basically how, and if you really want to, again, if you want to get into that whole racial shit, Marxism is some white boy shit. Again, it's weird to ascribe race to things because ultimately anybody can be a cultural Marxist. It doesn't matter what race you are. But again, what I think is so fascinating about this is the trick. It's I pretend to be egalitarian. I pretend to care about diversity while maintaining my racial superiority over you. That paternalistic, man, it's my way or the fucking highway type attitude. I totally can see what Travis is talking about because, again, like I said, I have friends who've worked at CBC. I've had minor interactions with them as well. So I have an idea of what's going on. And this, I think, is really interesting because he's talking about this at the period of time when Catherine Tate was the head of the CBC. Okay? Now, for those you might not know who Catherine Tate is, most people, I don't think, even really had an idea who she was, if we're being real. But the point is, this woman ran the CBC while living in Brooklyn for years. Okay? And again, I have friends, I know people who know this. You're trying to get a meeting with her, she's like, next time or whatever, Zoom calls constantly. So you're telling me that the head of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, a governmental entity, the head of this shit lives in a foreign country and the left media had no issue with this, didn't even want to talk about this, But the same left-leaning media will now waste all my time talking about Trump and the Americans. They always want to take us over, and we got to guard ourselves against the big bad Americans. Do you get what I'm saying? You see the hypocrisy here? Can you explain to me how it's not a national security risk for the head of a big-time governmental Canadian agency to be living in another country? If you can come up with an answer for me, let me know in the comment section. But again, guys, we're tired. This is why, look, people are speaking up. You can't hide this shit anymore. We're tired. And people like this, they're mediocre. They're always mediocre. That's why it's all about control and power. And they know that deep down, they're not really talented enough to really make anything. So, of course, what do mediocre people who are obsessed with power do? They kowtow. They play up whatever seems to be the trend. Oh, shit, it's trendy to hate Israel? Oh, okay, cool. I just want my job, right? But when you should be a leader and say, no, this is not right, or no, that's some person's opinion. Let's try to find the opinion on the opposing side, someone who's intellectual, who knows what they're talking about, and get the public to weigh it out, because that's the whole point. That's what you say you're supposed to do. But again, these agencies are run by people where the rot is so deep. That's why it infects everything from the top to the bottom. Anyway, I've said enough. Let me know what you think. This is some Canadian news stuff. But again, it's not just America, okay? This is a Western issue, and it's going to get corrected. It's just that it's going to take a long time, because this is a generational issue. It will take a while. We are spitting out the poison of cultural Marxism slowly. Hopefully. I hope that we don't double down. Even though, of course, those who are knee-deep in it, who are grifting off it, will, of course, double down. But hopefully, they get isolated so much that eventually, again, and I don't think this will happen immediately, but over time, people will realize, no. You are weird. You have no empathy. You want to control us. So we're keeping you over here. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, if you don't have the testicular fortitude to go for the truth, you shouldn't be in power on any level. And I understand that politicians lie and all that stuff. I get it. But sometimes some shit is so real, like what Trump is doing with Iran. Like Iran, we don't have to talk about the Iranian regime. That's another video. I've talked about this enough. But you need testicular fortitude. It gives people hope. It makes them want to achieve things. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a proud Canadian. I'm a proud person of the West. And I'm not about to sit back and let my country just fall into disrepair and shit like that. That's not happening. And I think a lot of us, hopefully, more of us understand that and say, no, we got to get back to getting motivated. To objective reality. None of this two-faced shit. You claim sovereignty. Oh, please protect my sovereignty while benefiting and living in Brooklyn. Claiming, America's going to take us over. But meanwhile, you're across the border. Phony shit, man. And all these white liberals, a lot of them, progressives. I'm not talking about people who are white who happen to be on the left. I'm talking specifically about these cultural Marxist type, of which unfortunately there's a fair amount of them. They do not care. They care about power. And that's why they will play victim to grab power, agitate to grab power. And once you know the playbook, you can stop them in their tracks. Love y'all. One.